Canadians are experiencing the biggest jump in their grocery bills in more than a decade. There's a new Angus Reid poll that's just come out this morning, suggests many Canadians are actually changing their habits because of those rising prices. That's part of our focus this morning as we continue with the CBC News series, Priced Out, the High Cost of Everything. Nisha Patel is with us this morning. And Nisha, great to see you on this story. It's a really interesting one. And Angus Reid, that polling has really tapped into the changes Canadians are making to deal with sticker shock.
You bet, Heather. And, you know, Canadians dealing with these high food prices, 6.5% in January. It's a lot to deal with. And so they really are making some changes, especially during winter when we import more of our food. So the prices are even higher during this season. So they're really starting to make some changes. And take a look at some of the responses from this survey from Angus Reid. 35% say they're cutting back on meat products. 21% are buying less fruit, fresh fruit and vegetables. And then, of course, that also plays out when they're going to restaurants. So 62% say they're eating out less, and 46% say they're switching to cheaper brands. And so this is especially hard when you are on a fixed income, when you have a large family with lots of mouths to feed. You know, people are really starting to look at strategies for how to lower their food prices and their grocery bills. They are shopping more coupons, they are shopping sales, they are looking at how they can save money, and people really getting creative. Heather, you know, my father-in-law was so tired of paying for egg prices that he got himself some chickens.
He did? His own chickens?
He got some chickens. He's lucky enough to have some space. And so he got 2 chickens, and we get fresh eggs every week. So really lucky to be able to do that, but people getting creative.
That is so interesting. And those are the kinds of stories that we're hoping to hear from Canadians as we look at this issue over the next few days. What are the things that you are now contemplating and doing that you haven't had to do before? What is exactly responsible for this? What's pushing the food prices so high, Nisha?
You know, Heather, you know, we've seen the costs rising all along the food supply chain. So everything from the growers who are paying more for fertilizer and machinery to the people who are importing our food. So they're paying more for shipping costs and gas prices. You know, people driving into work this morning are going to look at the record high gas prices. They're paying to fill up their own tank, but it's also the truckers who are driving around transporting our food across the country. They're paying more for gas prices and for workers. And so when we look at all of these factors, they all sort of pile into the food supply chain. It ends up at the grocery store, and those grocery stores are going to raise their prices and pass it on to the shoppers. Now, a lot of economists say that they are going to see some of those issues work itself out through the food supply system over the rest of this year, but there's really no near-term fix here. So Canadian shoppers at the grocery store are going to be seeing this for quite some time.
Nisha, thank you very much. Nisha Patel with us in Toronto. And Nisha, looking at the Angus Reid numbers and trends more broadly. There's Michael as well. We're all back in the studio. This is fantastic. All back in the newsroom.
At breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. Michael, looking in the actual price stickers. Michael, here we are. It's 8:34 Eastern time. So it's breakfast, or in my case, you know, like any good hobbit, I like a good second breakfast. I don't know about you.
I'm on my third cup of coffee. How about that?
Okay, look at the actual stickers for us on the breakfast plate this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, off the plate and beginning with coffee, which is why I'm holding my mug here, Heather, because of course we rely on it. According to StatsCan, if you look at the price, in March of 2020, 300 grams of coffee, well, that cost $5. By last month, the cost shoppers were paying was 32 cents more. Eggs, if you are not as lucky as Nisha to have a father-in-law with chickens, if you want to buy eggs, back in March of 2020, a dozen would cost $3.41. By January of this year, $3.84. And with milk, useful for coffee and, you know, healthy bones, well, 4 liters of homogenized milk was $5.94 in March of 2020. Last month, $6.10. So really just gives you an idea of just how much more Canadians are paying for the same items this year and in 2022.
Milk, yes. Strong bones and teeth.
Yes.
We've been hearing from our viewers writing in, talking about milk, the price of groceries. We've been asking people to share their pictures of sticker shock. And what are they sharing with us,
Well,
Michael?
some really good ones here. I'm going to begin again with Gabriel Brisbois. And Gabriel, sorry I mispronounced your name or said your name incorrectly in the last hour, but Gabriel sent us this photo of milk. I was talking about the cost of it being essentially $5.94 in parts of the country. Well, where he is, it is over $8 in Bathurst, New Brunswick. He says he moved to Bathurst from BC in Vancouver. The cost living way cheaper, but the groceries are insane, he says. Take a look at this next picture. This is from Pat Dexter in Stellarton, Nova Scotia. And if you live in Stellarton and you want ribeye, you better really love ribeye. $58 for a 1.2 kilo piece of that meat, $48 per kilo there. Now, luckily, you don't really need butter for steak, but if you do, Steve Murphy says $8 for butter in his grocery store. So that is just an idea of where the prices are at this point. Heather, many Canadians, particularly in Atlantic Canada, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, saying, according to the Angus Reid, that it is harder right now with these prices to feed their families.
You're right, you don't need it with steak, but if you put a little bit on top, boy, is it ever good, and it really sizzles.
We're going to slip into a cooking show next, Heather.
Anyway, but you're right. I mean, the prices are just crazy. So this is exactly what we're hoping to hear from people. Thank you, Michael.